All right, Nick, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins team suffering a heartbreaking loss. Titans come back on you. But what does this team do? They do not stare in the face of defeat. They make some changes, they make some moves, and get this team moving back in the right direction. That's what I like to hear because at the end of the day, Dolphins are still in a very good position to be playoff contenders in the AFC. So today's news is very, very good. Let's get into the article and we talk about it on the other side. This, of course, is over on NBC Sports. It says the Dolphins are signing edge rusher Melvin Ingram after his workout on Tuesday. According to multiple reports, Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald reports that Ingram is signing with the team's practice squad. He totaled 22 tackles, 6 sacks, and 10 quarterback hits, a forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries, while appearing in every regular season game for Miami last season. He had 2 tackles in the playoff loss to the Bills. The Dolphins could use depth at this position with Jalen Phillips on season-ending injury reserve after tearing his Achilles. Nick, I think this is a great move. What more could you want than a guy that played pretty much the entire season with you last year? Someone very familiar with this team, very familiar with the other players of this team, the schemes, just everything in general with the Miami Dolphins. Melvin Ingram can bring a lot to a table and is a guy who is in the twilight of his career, but with this added rest, he basically has not played all season. We saw how productive he was last year. This is a guy coming in. It's almost, I would akin it to the OBJ Ravens signing. This is a guy that you don't need him to play every single down and be a superstar. This is a guy come in maybe some particular pass rush situations, some, really niche situations for this Dolphins defense and provide a lot of value. This is a guy that could bring a lot to the table for a little bit of snaps while the Dolphins are battling some injuries. Obviously, the loss of Phillips is a big one, but a guy like Melvin Ingram can hopefully, spell those woes a little bit. I'm curious though, Nick, what your thoughts are on everything Dolphins and the signing of Melvin Ingram for the Dolphins. But Dolphins fans, bounce back. I think this is a game you can definitely win. The New York Jets don't have a lot of firepower on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, that's a different story, but you are a team that is equipped to outscore the New York Jets. So I'm curious what your thoughts are in the comments below. What is the score? Dolphins, Jets, let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what do you think about this move for the Dolphins?
So first of all, I think it's really smart. I think it's one of those under the radar moves that could have a huge impact, especially down the playoff push here. Because look, over the past 2 games since they lost Phillips to the unfortunate season-ending knee injury, they've had against the Washington Commanders and the Tennessee Titans, 2 teams that are not known for great offensive line play. The Dolphins have only totaled 4 sacks between those 2 games. That's not going to get it done against teams like the Titans and Commanders. It certainly won't get it done throughout the rest of their schedule and definitely for the playoffs. It's clear they need another pass rusher to replace Phillips. And the way you're going to do it is not by having one guy. We talked about this a few weeks ago. You're not going to be able to bring in a guy like Ingram, and he's not going to immediately replace Phillips. But in aggregate with the rest of the defense, they can kind of do the best they can to replace his production and his impact. And I think you brought up a great point is that he doesn't need to play a lot of snaps. The whole goal with a guy like Ingram is to maybe play 10 to 15 pass rush snaps over the course of the game or as needed throughout the game to get some pressure on the quarterback in key situations. And you definitely saw it against the Titans. On the Titans' final 2 scoring drives, they totaled 13 offensive snaps. Imagine you have had Ingram fresh coming off into that game in that situation. Does he get a sack? Does he get pressure on Will Levis a couple times? Probably at least once or twice, changes the dynamic of the game. Who knows? Maybe the Dolphins win. I think that's exactly what Greer and McDaniel recognized that, hey, look, we are clearly one pass rusher short in those key passing situations. Ingram can do that right away. He can come off the sideline, come off the bench, come off the couch, and immediately add a big boost to the pass rushing situation. Again, in that 8 to 15 snap range, which is really all you need. Because this is a Dolphins team that obviously they're battling through some injuries on the offensive line. Hopefully Tyreek Hill's good for the long term. It looks like he probably is. But when they are healthy, they are incredibly tough to beat. They can just drop 50 or 45 on pretty much everybody at a drop of a hat. The question is, can they get enough stops on defense? I think we saw against the Titans that they're clearly one pass rusher short. I think getting Ingram into the fold is a great move to make sure they have that one additional pass rusher, again, for just those select few pass rush snaps over the course of the game that could help them close out some victories down the stretch here.
Yeah, Nick. And I think this is a great move schematically for the Dolphins as well, because you have the emergence of two key pass rushers here. And I say emergence because Bradley Chubb is a name that people know, but he is having by far, I'd say, 16-point higher PFF grade this season than he has ever had before. On the other side of him, in Van Ginkel, really looks great as well. Again, at least I'd say 18-point higher scored this season than he's ever had before. So two guys really on the rise. You get Ingram on the field there. These are three guys that can really get after the passer. That's going to be a nightmare for these offensive lines. Having three guys that are really savvy, really great pass rushers, going to cause a lot of problems. And it's like we said, they don't need to do it every single play. You put them on 10, maybe 15, like you said, crucial passing down snaps. Melvin Ingram goes full board, gets after the passer with Van Ginkel, with Chubb. One of these guys has got to get home. And hopefully this solves the problem that you brought up. The lack of pass rush in the last 4 games, only 4 sacks. Not what you want to see, but I really think this is a move that can provide a lot of value for the Dolphins going down this playoff stretch.
And I think you hit on the key point there is that they do have a couple great pass rushers. I've been really impressed with Bradley Chubb myself. But the reality is when you only have 1 or 2 guys, that allows offenses to double team or provide chip help or something like that. And that means other guys are one-on-one. And you need guys to win those one-on-one matchup situations when they occur over the course of the game, especially late in the game. And Ingram has proven throughout his career he can be that guy. And look, this isn't the first time a team acquired Ingram mid-season to help with a playoff push. The Kansas City Chiefs in 2021, people forget the Chiefs defense was terrible halfway through 2021. They brought in Ingram from the Pittsburgh Steelers to add another pass rusher, and suddenly just one additional incremental pass rusher, that Chiefs defense took a big leap. They made it all the way to the AFC title game, came up just short against the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know if Ingram will have that much of an impact, but I think he'll get pretty close. I think he could quietly have a huge, in terms of getting them off the field in certain situations, impact the rest of the season for the Miami Dolphins. And as good as the Dolphins offense has been this entire season, 1 or 2 additional stops, and it's hard to beat this team. I mean, they can drop 30 on anybody. They just need to get 1 or 2 key defensive holds down the stretch. And I think Ingram is the guy to help them do just that.